There are some things that, you know, when you're dealing, there's some other cool things like opals. You know, they kind of have that fluorescence, and they're more valued on the type of fire they have, unless they get a little bit bigger than this. This has fire. I don't know if you can see it in the light. Let me hold this light up to it so you can might be able to see it. But yeah, you can see the color. It has really good color to it. And a lot of people, though, where they screw up is they'll say, well, it's that color. It's a topaz or something or an aqua. But no, this is a sapphire, and it's a natural Australian sapphire. And these are real opals, and this is in silver. So this piece, and it's not, it looked similar to Indian stuff, but not exactly. You know, people don't get new ideas usually. So you see things that cross over all over the world. So a lot of the jewelry designs and stuff are originally from Thailand or India, even in the West, because a lot of the trade went through there and it arrived there, and they may have made modifications in Europe, but it tends to be from China or from Thailand or India, and sometimes from China, which is usually adaptations of their stuff. So a lot of it comes from the Silk Road. So you can't go 100% on how it looks if it was from there. These so we talked about the stones. So we'll talk about pearls. Well, you want to look for pearls unless you are really, really good at pearls and you know a lot about them. You want to find some imperfection. These have gold clasps, and they are natural, like rice type pearls, but they're not. They're really that way. They're small, and you know, it varies. The freshwater pearls are decimals in value compared to the saltwater ones, and I have some. I didn't bring. I have some conch pearls, and I have Milo pearls, and I didn't. But anyway, there's a lot to cover, and this is going to be too long as it is. This video. This is the saltwater pearl, and this is probably a good time to transition into the metals part, because this is a lower carat gold. I think this is a 9 carat, and it's marked in an odd space. It's very small inside there, and it's hard to see. And this is a known brand of golden pearl jewelry where it comes from the same company. Because, like in one of the reasons, there's multiple reasons why, if you know what you're doing, you get cheaper jewelry in India or Thailand. Um, they may own the mine, the lapidary, and own the jeweler, or they have very good relationships, or a mix of that stuff. So that's often a good way to buy, as long as you're not paying too much for the marketing and stuff. And internationally, even with tariffs, can still be fraction of what you pay for domestically, because you have to go through sometimes 12 or more hands before it gets to the jewelry and into your jewelry, is when it comes to the stones. So if you go straight to the source and you get the good buy, the good price, because some of these prices are not good if you don't know what you're doing. You need to learn more about this, learn how not to get ripped off through internationally secured payment methods, and you can get very good deals once you learn. But it's a dangerous thing to do unless you learn a little bit more, and that's other videos. This is a moonstone, and this is gold, and it's hard to see with something like this. But remember that small things are more likely to be valuable than large things, because you're dealing with expensive materials. That's another little trick. This I bought. This is a very large, very thick, heavy, you know, 14 karat gold bracelet, and it's marked 585. And 750 is 18 karat, but it also has the carat on it too, and all the different places. But not they don't always do that. Sometimes it's very small, or it could even be like a hallmark, like a picture of an animal, or certain letters or numbers. But these are, so there's a lot to learn, and sometimes you don't. Sometimes you just have to learn what the different soldering looks like, and what the weight and feel looks like, and the whole thing. But otherwise, some things are just totally unmarked. People don't follow the rules. Things wear off. They come from different origins. Um, but this thing has about in melt weight, after percentage from the smelter, is like $600 to $800. It's very heavy, very thick. It's a substantial piece in gram weight. Um, and then you'll see this one. This one has like a 417. It's 10 karat gold, very small. I paid a quarter for this, and the stamp is on the clasp, very small. Sometimes you might even see in a spot like that little tip there, you'll see just a little marking there, so, and they are marked. This one I bought from a Goodwill, and it got through all of their screening. You could have run this through a machine, because this had oil on the outside of it, which would have like iron and other things in it, and I very carefully, properly removed the oil. But you can see there's a very small stamp underneath the clasp right there, and it's an Art Deco style piece, and it's a very heavy thing, and there was a certain look to the way it was made and stuff that made me want to look at it, and I ended up buying it. This is a very small eagle, but on the back, on that rough side, you couldn't easily see it with the naked eye. You wouldn't see it. In fact, it's marked 14 karat gold with the manufacturer's stamp on it. And then you have other low carat golds, sometimes even lower than the 9 carat, and they will oxidize like most metals because they have less gold in them, but they still have value, especially an older piece like this. And so you can find things, and it's very hard just from knowing all of the things about metals. Like some things will date a piece, like 12 karat gold. Some of the pieces I have, if it's real 12 karat gold, it most likely is like 1931 or older, when we stopped using it as a standard and went to 14 karat. This is marked on the stem as 14 karat. Most earrings are a good place to look because it's usually marked on the stem, and for them to see that it would take a lot of places get like 500 or 1,500 earrings a week. That's a lot of labor. And this is jade. It's lavender jade. These are, and I have the set. I don't have, and that's the other thing. You don't, like, I'll show you something here in a second. So these are real diamonds. And so smaller, like I said, smaller is more likely to be valuable. And we have both pieces. These ones actually have the original backs. But most of your gold earrings and stuff won't. They could have any kind of cheap, because they could have any, and vice versa. Sometimes you'll have costume jewelry and they'll have gold things because they got messed up in the jewelry box. So you see this? This is also marked on the stem, and but these are not real diamonds. See how they're bigger? And it's because the diamond, most stones, it would be more than the gold. So people could afford real things that would not turn green and would not wear out. They put a CZ into the stone. I have several earrings that are gold with CZs or something else that's another simulant, and I have several that are diamond or gold, and it affects things, and you can't follow, like, see, these are clip-on earrings, but they're marked sterling, and they are sterling, and they have a maker's mark, and they're 1920s, 1930s Art Deco earrings, and they have a purple, they have an amethyst cabochon in them, and something like that can be of great value. Something that people will miss a lot is these little tie tacks. Often they're marked gold, either on the back or the stem, or even the little pin that you push up on and pull out, the little knob there. And these have real stones in them. This one has sapphires, real sapphires, and it's 14 karat. This one has 2 emeralds and a diamond, and it is 10 karat. And those are often overlooked by everyone because it's like, why? Well, sometimes people in high positions within companies or for retirements or for promotions will get a gift, and based on some accomplishment, and sometimes those accomplishment gifts can be worth thousands of dollars, and that is often how those come about. When we talk about like construction and stuff, this one is a good sample, even in the silver thing, why it might be worth more. Because if you look, none of this is cast. All of this, in that leaf and all these little finer details, were all soldered into this ring. And so like you would see 925 really came about in the 1970s. There are a few exceptions to when people would use that, but it almost always had a period between the two, so it would be 92.5% silver with or without the markings for that. and it was to indicate the percentage. So, and it still is, but it was just a more deliberate preference. After it was to get away from the sterling stamp. When you look at stamps, this one has a nice opal on it. Um, when you look at your stamps on your jewelry, um, when you're looking at them, you're looking for them. Another tip is that um, the smaller the stamp, most high-end stamps are going to be 2 to 3 characters. And because you think about it, if it's plate, it's going to say 14 karat GP or 14 karat G, or if it's filled, it's going to say 14 karat or 14 kgf, or it might have a long thing to it, with the exception of like sterling, or if it just says platinum or something like that. But the majority of the time, the shorter stamps are going to be more valuable. And with platinum, the rules change a lot. And we talked about hallmarks. People, even after the rules, have used things like PTM or PMT, or they just put a P, or it's all over the place. And it's something to study and learn a lot about, because it's a whole topic with platinum stuff. And a lot of palladium stuff doesn't even have marks. I have some palladium stuff, but which is kind of rare. This is a nice Deco Nouveau type piece, and you'll just see the kind of construction. So you kind of see there's like unusual things that occur in different periods and localities. Some things are marked like inside the clasp. Like this is a big hefty piece of silver cross, and it's marked inside the clasp all the way. See, unless you looked inside down in there, you wouldn't see it. I have a piece of gold that has a long. Thrift shops can't figure out. I had something for years that I had other people look at, and because of the way it was constructed and everything, unless you were to deliberately acid test the piece that didn't look like it was gold because it was patinaed. I have some 18 karat antique gold that looks like old dirty brass, but they're worth like $1,000 per earring because they're very heavy. But you would think it was costume jewelry, because sometimes they deliberately antique gold, and sometimes it's even high carat. So paying attention to these things, learning the weights and things can be very important. But it's marked inside there. But inside the one I was telling you about, it's a long tube, and like a chain or a cord would fit through it, and the gold marking is almost in the center of that tube. So until you would test it after that, until that happens, you would never know that you had a piece of gold. So these are all very important things when you're trying to find this stuff. And the thrift stores that tend to be best are more localized charities that are smaller, that have a good connection to the local community. Usually, a lot of people, they aren't as sophisticated as their parents, and they will, or they don't want to deal with it, and they'll literally have the house taken somewhere, and literally everything will be taken there. And the complexity of all of these things in the situation, because some gold does patina or tarnish, especially if it's low carat, or it may have been exposed to a hot tub or something, because it's not 100% gold unless it's 24 karat, which means it'll have copper and other things in it that could oxidize over a long time. They may not be able to find it. And some things, even if they're plated, I should have brought the one that I have. Some of this, I have two things actually, but if this is white gold, and but if white gold is really a light yellow metal underneath, and it is rhodium plated, and even the stuff that has some platinum in it will still yellow to some degree. So they put rhodium over it to make it white without a mistake, and it wears off over time. So you'll see wear, and sometimes if it's like 12 to 9 karat or less, it will oxidize. So it will look like that it's brass or copper underneath. And so when you look at a piece that's worn, it's like, is it gold or is it copper? And that's a real thing, because most people see that, they think instantly it's plated. Well, not 100% of the time. It is most likely the case, but There are many cases that I've seen. Another thing I'll show you is, and this is something, so obviously this isn't a diamond, but look how the fire is from within this stone. Garnets can be different colors, and this is a little piece that I found in a bag of stuff within the stones, and this is a dementoid garnet, which they're worth thousands of dollars. But the point is, when we go over all this, is to basically learn a lot of different skills. You learn hundreds to thousands of different types of minerals, feels, weights. You use your loupe, but the point is you find lots of it. You know, in those bags, even when they're well searched, I bought $6 bags, and as long as I go through them a little bit, even in the best place where they had jewelers go through all of each bead, I will find, after I test them for treatments and stuff, you know, anywhere from, you know, hundreds and hundreds of dollars worth of things inside of it. I don't mess with certain kinds of things because I have to give it away, even at the value, because it's a lot to sell it, and it's not really what I do. But I look for more things that are more enhance the collection of the things that I have. But it's very interesting. At the antique stores, you're really looking for things that I talk about with the oxidation mistakes, the marking issues, and minerals that they may not be familiar with, or things like set in copper. Like I have a pair of copper earrings that have some really good sized Burmese rubies in them, because copper with ruby has astrological value in some cultures. But the point is, there's a lot of things that you can learn, and it's international. So the tricks into the trade, and a jeweler knows what they sell. Gemologists, they know what they know when they're on the site without doing a lot of research. A pawn shop guy understands the metal because he has to sell the metal to pay his bills if he has to. So he's only going to pay for the metal, and he's going to pay for a small percentage of that because he has to sell it to the smelter. And then there's retail, where you sell it to, and there's auction value. So once you know your stuff, you can make a tremendous amount of value to your collection or what you do with it or whatever. And as far as the auctions goes, and this is the last thing I was going to talk about, is if you're doing it online in person, it's the same thing. If you're buying a lot, and that's often the best way to do it from the States, it's the whole lot. You're looking for things that are less obvious, but you see, and you can be fairly certain of, it's never 100%. And you want to make sure that you know what kind of value ranges you can pay and still be on the plus side. Often people, like at storage auctions, they will buy units full of trash bags that are nothing, and they'll pay $1,000 for them. So people will overbid on those lots because they sell plastic jewelry. So you're looking for things that are very likely, and that's how you're going to get ahead on them. And things that other people may have not noticed. Like, was there one piece that has this little bit of metal, but the stone on it looks like it's very certain by the sheen on it and the way it's cut, it's a ruby. And it looks like it could possibly, very likely, be a natural ruby. And then do I also see at least 4 or 5 rings, and the stamps are very small on them, even though that I don't have a clear view and they're at a distance. And it's likely that at least one of them is made of gold and probably has real stones. Well, at that point, you probably can be safe and bid, 200 or more on it. And then the other guy may only be willing to go to 120 or 150. And it's those little tricks that'll get you ahead. And I love lots actually have more smaller things, very small pendants and earrings, because if you get the pairs, you can get rid of those easier. And like I said before, things are more likely to have value if they are smaller because the material costs more. So I hope this worked, and hopefully we can make some other videos. Very soon I have a very large estate lot coming from Westchester County, New York, different estates jewelry, and we'll hopefully open up, do that unboxing. Anyway, you have a wonderful day.